Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and the leader of the Conservative Party. He became the Prime Minister in October 2022, after Liz Truss resigned following a scandal over her handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Before that, he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, responsible for the country's finances and economic policies. Sunak is known for his ambitious and controversial plans to reduce immigration to the UK. He has said that he wants to bring down the net migration level below what he inherited, which was about 500,000 people a year. He has also said that he wants to stop illegal immigration, especially across the English Channel, by increasing patrols, prosecutions and deportations. Sunak's hypothesis is that reducing immigration will benefit the UK in several ways. He argues that lower immigration will ease the pressure on public services, such as health, education and housing. He also claims that lower immigration will boost wages and employment for British workers, by reducing competition from foreign labor. He also believes that lower immigration will enhance social cohesion and national identity, by reducing cultural and ethnic diversity. However, Sunak's hypothesis has been challenged by many critics, who say that his policies are unrealistic, ineffective and harmful. They argue that Sunak's target of reducing net migration is arbitrary and impossible to achieve, given the global trends and demand for migration. They also point out that Sunak's policies will damage the UK's economy, by depriving it of skilled and talented workers, especially in sectors such as healthcare, education and technology. They also warn that Sunak's policies will harm the UK's reputation and influence in the world, by making it seem hostile and unwelcoming to foreigners. Rishi Sunak's hypothesis is that reducing immigration to the UK will benefit the country in various ways. He has announced a new 5-point strategy for dealing with illegal immigration, including plans to fast-track the return of Albanian asylum seekers, and clearing the initial backlog of almost 150,000 asylum cases by the end of next year by doubling the number of caseworkers. He has also set a new goal of bringing migration down below the level he inherited, which was about 500,000 net arrivals a year when he became Prime Minister. He has backed away from the Conservatives' 2019 manifesto promise to reduce it below the level then of about 220,000. He has said he wants to bring down levels of net immigration but also defended the system of legal migration to the UK. But what are the pros and cons of his hypothesis from different perspectives, such as economic, social, political, and ethical? Let's analyze them one by one. Economic perspective. The pros of reducing immigration are that it could ease the pressure on public services, such as health, education, and housing, that are already strained by high demand and limited resources. It could also reduce the competition for low-skilled jobs and wages among native workers, and increase the incentives for employers to invest in training and productivity. The cons of reducing immigration are that it could harm the UK's economic growth, innovation, and competitiveness, as immigrants contribute to the labour force, tax revenues, consumer spending, and entrepreneurship. It could also create labour shortages in some sectors that rely on migrant workers, such as healthcare, agriculture, and hospitality. It could also reduce the diversity and dynamism of the UK's economy and society. Social perspective. The pros of reducing immigration are that it could enhance social cohesion, integration, and security, as immigrants may have different values, cultures, languages, and religions from the native population. It could also reduce the potential for social conflicts, tensions, and crimes that may arise from cultural differences or perceived unfairness. The cons of reducing immigration are that it could undermine the UK's reputation as a tolerant, open, and multicultural society that welcomes people from different backgrounds and respects their rights and freedoms. It could also increase the risk of discrimination, racism, and xenophobia against immigrants and ethnic minorities who are already in the UK. It could also deprive the UK of the benefits of cultural diversity and exchange that enrich its social fabric and identity. Political perspective. the pros of reducing immigration are that it could boost Sunak's popularity and credibility among his core supporters and voters who are concerned about immigration and its impacts on their lives. It could also help him win back some voters who defected to other parties or abstained in previous elections due to dissatisfaction with his immigration policies. It could also strengthen his bargaining power and influence in international negotiations and relations on migration issues. The cons of reducing immigration are that it could alienate some of his allies and partners who favor more liberal and humanitarian approaches to migration. It could also face legal challenges and opposition from human rights groups, civil society organizations, and some MPs who advocate for the rights and welfare of immigrants and refugees. It could also damage his image and reputation as a progressive and pragmatic leader who can balance different interests and perspectives on complex issues. Ethical perspective: the pros of reducing immigration are that it could uphold the UK's sovereignty and autonomy to decide who can enter and stay in its territory according to its own laws and interests. It could also protect the UK's national security and public order from potential threats posed by some immigrants who may have criminal records or extremist views. It could also respect the wishes and preferences of the majority of the UK's citizens who want less immigration or more control over it. The cons of reducing immigration are that it could violate the UK's moral obligations and commitments to respect human dignity and rights, especially for those who seek protection from persecution or violence in their home countries. It could also disregard the humanitarian needs and aspirations of those who want to improve their lives by migrating to the UK. It could also ignore the global challenges and responsibilities that require international cooperation and solidarity on migration issues.